Welcome to Ducks No Sports. So this week, it is my 8th installment of my NFL previews. This time, we preview the NFC West, possibly the worst division in football, but with a few good teams, maybe things are looking up in the NFC West. We'll start with last year's champs. The San Francisco 49ers, of course, had a magical year last year, going to the NFC Championship game, but just losing to the New York Giants. Of course, the biggest question for them has to be, can this young team go to the Super Bowl? I mean, last year, like I said, magical year, go to the NFC Championship game, and then when they got to the NFC Championship game, they showed us that they just weren't ready. They were too young, too inexperienced, and when it came down to it, just couldn't make plays when they had to make plays against the Giants. And in the offseason, they had a really good offseason by getting some really good veteran parts. A guy, in my opinion, is the second greatest receiver next to Jerry Rice in Randy Moss. A motivated Randy Moss is a scary visual. This guy he has the speed. He can go and get the ball. This guy is just your prototypical wide receiver. I love Randy Moss. Love him through his whole career. The book on Randy Moss is, yes, he does quit on teams, but he's never quit on a good team. He's quit on some bad Oakland teams. Some bad Minnesota teams. On that Titans team that wasn't that good a couple years ago. But when he was with the Pats, he didn't really quit. There were some things behind the scenes, I think, what happened between maybe him and the coach. But I really like Randy Moss. I really think Randy Moss is going to be a positive influence on some of these young wide receivers on San Francisco, on the 49ers, and I think they're will be improved with Randy Moss. But that's the only move they did in the offseason. They got Brandon Jacobs, solid running back, knows how to win games, knows how to close out games, of course, with the Giants all those years. And obviously last year against the 49ers in the NFC Championship game, closed out that game. Very good guy. Always like Brandon Jacobs. Will be a solid piece with the 49ers. And also, they want to get Mario Manningham from the Giants. Good young receiver from the Giants, now on the 49ers. Great move. And I like all these moves, all experience, all come with winning pedigrees. And a few guys have Super Bowl rings, can't go wrong with that. And two of these guys, Jacobs and Manningham, of course, beat them last year. NFC Championship game. And with this offense, this offense was pretty, not bad, but this offense was a running offense last year with Frank Gore coming back to be a very good running back. Alex Smith just managed the game, but now he's got some weapons. With Manningham and Moss, will be interesting to go with, Crabtree, which was their only good, I think the NFC Championship last year, I think they had one receiver with a catch. Of course, they got the great tight end and Brandon Davis. I mean, this has turned to a pretty good offense with Moss and Manningham and Davis and Frank Gore in the backfield. And Alex Smith, who just continues to get better and better every year, just manages the game. Very good field manager, if you will, because this is what comes down. This offense has to improve for this team to take the next level. Because their defense is my opinion, is the best defense in the league. I mean, Patrick Willis, Bowman. There's so many great studs on that defense. Really, really good defense. And I think if it could all come together this year for the 49ers, because I really like this 49ers team. If they can get together on offense, this could be a scary team that will challenge anybody in the NFC and could beat anybody in the league. And with a great coach, Jim Harbaugh, a great coach who just gets on guys, he's a good guys, players coach. I love Harbaugh. I think he brings a lot of fire to the game. I think he really is kind of the identity of the 49ers away. Brings that fire, and you see that in his players' eyes. And just the 49ers are a great team, and I love 49ers this year, and possibly, just possibly, I know this is crazy, but they could possibly win the Super Bowl this year. Okay, moving to our next team, the Seattle Seahawks. Of course, the question going into the season has to be, can they make the playoffs? Of course, last year came very close to making the playoffs, but fell short. They brought in a few quarterbacks in the offseason. Bringing in Matt Flynn, who I like. I think Matt Flynn can be an elite guy in this league if in the right situation. This isn't a perfect situation, but this could turn to a very good situation with a few good young receivers turning up. Of course, got Russell Wilson in the draft. I really liked him at Wisconsin. Don't know if he's a starting caliber quarterback in the NFL. He has a lot of flaws in his game. He'll really have to work that out, but we'll see. And another big thing in the offseason, they brought in Terrell Owens in training camp. Interesting move. I mean, I've always been a big T.O. fan. I don't think he gets too much slack. I think he gets too much hate on, just because people want to hate him just because he likes to get the ball. But I've always been a big T.O. fan. But that being said, though, I don't think T.O. has anything left in the tank. I love you, T.O., but you don't. There's really nothing left in the tank for T.O. And I just think this was a questionable move with a young team. Don't think it's a good situation. I think T.O. could really hurt a guy like Matt Flynn because he's going to be yelling at him for the ball all the time. Could hurt some of their good young receivers. I mean, T.O., great player, Hall of Fame player, in my estimation, Hall of Fame type of guy. Didn't understand the move, and I just think this isn't going to work out. I think it's going to blow up in the Seahawks' face. And another question for this team has to be their defense. You know, defense used to be a very good defense, you know, in the mid-2000s, but it's just fallen off. Not the same team they used to be, and their defense just not as good as it used to be. And I just think there's just too many questions with this team right now. You know, who's the quarterback? We don't know. You know, is T.O. going to work out or going to blow up in their face? Is Pete Carroll? Will Pete Carroll keep this team, continuing put this team in the right direction he's done the last couple of years? And will this defense be good? There's just too many questions. That's why I just think this is not a great team. I just think it's going to be a long year in the Seattle. Moving to the Arizona Cardinals. Of course, biggest question going in here has to be, who is the quarterback? Of course, last offseason they got Kevin Kolb from the Eagles. All the hype, gave him a big deal. And then didn't really play. You know, was off and on hurt the whole year. And when he was in there, wasn't that effective with Larry Fitzgerald. They couldn't seem to mesh. Of course, the lockout last year, no real off-season programming, no an limited training camp. Couldn't really get established with Larry Fitzgerald. Maybe it'll be different now with an off-season. And by the guy who came in last year, actually kind of impressed me, was John Skelton. You know, of course, a late round draft pick a couple drafts ago. You know, a guy who they drafted to be the next guy after Kurt Warner. Then, of course, went with Kevin Kolb, signed Kevin Kolb instead. Interesting guy. You know, he won games down the stretch. I mean, he played really well down the stretch. And if I'm the Cardinals, I know I would cut Kolb and just go with Skelton, because I think Skelton can be that guy. He can be that game manager, maybe turn to something in the NFL. With Kevin Kolb, never been a huge fan of him in college or in the pros. Even with the Eagles, didn't really like him that much. Or even last year with the Cardinals, didn't like him that much. If I'm the Cardinals, maybe it's time I cut ties with Kevin Kolb, go with Skelton, go with the future. Who knows? Him and Larry Fitzgerald seemed to have hooked up a lot last year. They seem to have some great chemistry there. So it will be interesting. But if things go sour here for the Cardinals, I really think Wisenhunt's job could be on the line here. Because this will be another year. I think it's be like 4 straight years with missing the playoffs. You know, they went to that Super Bowl, you know, it seems like ages ago, like 2008. But that being said, though, that was ages ago. And you can't live off one good season. That's really what Wisenhunt's done. He's been there long enough. He's been there since like 2006, I want to say. He's had basically one good season, made the Super Bowl. Yeah, it's good for him. But that being said, there's just something about this Cardinals team. I just don't think they're a good team. And I think there's just too many young guys. They haven't built this team right. I mean, Larry Fitzgerald is a great player, but besides that, there's not much there. I like John Skelton. On defense, it's very aging. Not the same defense it was a couple years ago when they were a dominant defense. Arizona Cardinals, great story. A couple years ago making Super Bowl, but they've gone downhill ever since. And I think it's just going to be a long year in the desert. And I think at the end of the year, Ken Wisenhunt will be looking for employment somewhere else. And our last team, the St. Louis Rams. Of course, biggest question going in has to be the only question. Can they rebound after a bad 2011 season? Of course, 2010, Sam Bradford came in and really lit the league on fire. Showed that almost making the playoffs. You know, just losing at Seattle the last week of the season, missing the playoffs that year, and really show that maybe they could be a team of the future, really a team on the rise, and then went the opposite direction last year. Just a horrible season. I think it took them to like week 9 or week 10 to even get a win. With this team though, another question has to be: is Sam Bradford really that good? I mean, I was never a big fan of Sam Bradford when he entered the league. I thought he'd be a bust, and he proved me wrong. His rookie year, had a great rookie year, but when teams got film on him, they got tape on him last year, was not good. They found out his flaws, and in the NFL, year 1, it's kind of a wash because nobody really knows about you. Year 2, that's when you find out how good you really are, because then they have tape on you. Now they have an off-season to prepare for you. And last year you could see Sam Bradford wasn't ready. Of course, has that shoulder injury too on his throwing arm. Not good. He's had 2 times already in his career. Not even 25 yet. Kind of scary there. And I gotta think, man, Sam Bradford, I've always thought he was overrated with the Sooners. I was overrated being the first overall pick. And I'm just not a big Bradford guy. I mean, they gave him all that money, but at the end of the day, he's not really that good in my opinion. I mean, I think if I'm the Rams, though, maybe not saying go look for another quarterback next year's draft or try to go get another quarterback. Sam Bradford could be good, but is he going to be this elite guy? I don't see it. I just don't see it. And who knows, maybe he'll prove me wrong and become the elite guy, but right now, I just don't see him being an elite guy, and I don't see the St. Louis Rams, I don't see a Super Bowl in their future behind this guy. I just don't see it. I don't think Sam Bradford's really that good. Overhyped, in my mind, and just think with this guy, I think you're gonna be in trouble for not years to come, but you're not gonna be as good as you think you're going to be. This guy is good, but not elite. And another question has to be: can their defense rebound from last year? There's a few pieces on this defense I like Chris Long, very good at edge rusher. I mean, can really get after the passer. Laurinaitis, hell of a linebacker. I mean, love Laurinaitis. But besides that, nothing's really there. And of course, they brought in Finneran, of course, from the Titans. Of course, that little shit disturber they have will be interesting. See how he does there under, of course, new head coach Jeff Fisher. Of course, they went back with the Titans. And things could be turning around in St. Louis. I really believe in the St. Louis Rams. I really think they can be a good team this year because Jeff Fisher will turn the culture around there. This defense, I think they have to rely a lot on their defense because all their people on offense are getting older. Like Steven Jackson's getting older, so you can't really rely on him. I think, like I said, my rant on Sam Bradford, I don't think he's good. He says he's good, but he's not great. And I think if the St. Louis Rams, everything comes together this year, they could be a force to be reckoned with this year in the West. If everything comes together, they could be that dark horse that wins the West. I personally don't see it, though. A lot of things have to go their way, and I just don't see it. I think this will be more of a rebuilding year. I think they're more looking to 2013 to make their stride to 2012. I think it's going to be a long year in St. Louis. All right, call comes down to this, and obviously with this division, I think you're going with one choice here. Your winner of the West this year has to be the San Francisco 49ers. Great team, could go to the Super Bowl. That's how great they can be. And at the end of the day, who's got better than us? Nobody. Well, that's it for the West. But my last installment, I'll be giving my Super Bowl pick. All my playoff teams and all my award winners, so it should be good. So tune into that. But till next time, I'm Aaron Duxbury saying, I'm Dux, and I know sports. Kind of.